Hi everyone, welcome to First Phase Capital. This is Mark, and today I am with Nicolas Kadysh, founder and CEO of PharmAla Biotech, a biotechnology company focused on the benefits of MDMA. How are you, Nicolas?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. Great to talk to you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So for our viewers, could you introduce the company?
Sure. So PharmAla is an MDMA company. So we work with methylene dioxymethamphetamine, which is commonly known in recreational illegal circles as ecstasy. And we basically have two business lines. We're the world's we're one of two entities in the world that produces GMP, so pharmaceutical grade MDMA. And then we also research and develop novel analogs of MDMA that we take through the clinical trial process. So currently we're commercialized with our LaNeo MDMA product in 3 different countries and adding more all the time. And then working to take a number of our novel molecules, novel patented molecules through clinical trial. We have one that we hope to get into phase 2 end of this year, beginning of next year.
Okay. And so could you tell us what the benefits of MDMA are and, in numbers, how big is the sector? If like how in how many countries it is allowed so far?
Yeah. So right now we are treating patients directly in 2 countries, in Canada and in Australia. Australia changed their rules in July of this year to allow for MDMA assisted psychotherapy in the treatment of post-traumatic stress disorder through something called the authorized prescriber scheme. And that is what MDMA is currently being used for, is for treating post-traumatic stress disorder. It's been designated a breakthrough therapy by the FDA. And just yesterday, MAPS, which is a charity and a public benefit corporation, published the second phase 3 trial for treating PTSD with MDMA. A lot of acronyms in the space: PTSD, MDMA. But yeah, basically the modality of care is a little bit unique. It is MDMA assisted therapy. So you're taking the drug, but the drug's not doing the work. The therapy is what's doing the work. The drug makes the therapy more effective, and it makes it a lot more effective. So generally speaking, the success rate in treating PTSD is somewhere in the neighborhood of 30%. And it generally takes a very long time. So you're in therapy for a long time, and hopefully you have a breakthrough, you have a good therapist, and it works. In MAPS's first phase 3 trial, which was published a couple of years ago now, they saw after 3 months of MDMA-assisted psychotherapy, 67% of patients were no longer diagnosed as having PTSD at the end of that trial. So I don't like using the word cure because PTSD is it's not like cancer. Like PTSD is a natural response to trauma, but it is a huge problem. And so it is basically, in our opinion, it is basically a cure for PTSD.
Everything sounds very exciting. And what
Thanks.
about you? How did you have the idea of founding the company? And also, if you could lead us through your management team, background, all those type of things.
Yeah. So my background is in regulatory. I've been working on, in large companies doing regulatory work for the past decade, always in sort of healthcare regulated spaces. So I was, I think, the second ever government affairs person at Red Bull Energy Drink. This is like a decade ago. Had a lot of fun at Red Bull, but Red Bull is a food, obviously food and beverage, but it's highly regulated food and beverage. For a time, I worked at General Electric in their healthcare business, doing medical device work. And then I worked at Juul Labs as a senior executive, doing regulatory work again. So that's vaping, also sort of heavily regulated. And basically, a couple of years ago, we looked around this space and we saw a ton of great science being done, but not yet commercialized. And we said, we think we can do good work here. And what ended up happening, we did not set out to make MDMA. The original concept for the business was just early stage drug discovery. Same as there's 10 million companies out there doing early stage drug discovery. And we had an idea on how to make MDMA safer. And so we were executing on that. We raised money. We were doing it. But what we kept hearing from people, researchers, big researchers from big universities, and they all said the same thing. We were talking to them about our new molecules, and they said, that's great that you have new molecules, but what about just regular MDMA, but clinical grade, pharmaceutical grade product? Do you have any? We need some, and there is none. And so we decided, okay, if there seems to be a market need here, so we made it. It took about a year to make. It takes time to make pharmaceutical high quality products. So we finished our first clinical batch last year in August. Last year we did almost $1 million in sales. This year we're on track for 2. This year, we've also started treating patients. We got this FDA approval to provide for clinical trials in the United States. So it's been moving very, very rapidly. And then, the team is unbelievable. We've got like a really, really amazing team. So our COO is Shane Morris. He is the former chief product officer for Aurora Cannabis. Our head of sales is a guy named David Purcell. He's a really great guy. He's been doing sales in sort of academic pursuits for a long time, and also did a little bit of work in cannabis. I think he started one of the first sort of higher education cannabis programs in Canada. And then our head of research is Dr. Harpreet Kaur, or I should say Dr. Shane Morris. Shane is a doctor. He's got a PhD in oh God, he's got a PhD in genetics, plant genetics.
Okay.
And then Dr. Harpreet Kaur is our head of research. She comes from the pharma world. She was at Sun Pharma, and then she was head of clinical development at Tilray, also in cannabis. I'm the only guy who didn't do anything in cannabis. But the team is unbelievable, really, really great. We also have a remarkable board of directors, all independent directors. So it's been a pretty amazing thing. If I'm proud of anything, I'm proud of our achievements, of course, but I'm really proud about the team. The team is really, really good.
Yeah, so a strong team, great products, everything seems to be moving forward, right? And you just talked about I'm gonna go for you as well.
Yeah,
and you talked about the financing. So could you let us know how much you raised, when was it, and how you intend to use the cash?
Yeah. So I think I'm a little bit different than a lot of people in the market. So we've raised a grand total of $3 million ever, period, full stop. We did 2 rounds. We did a $1 million round in February of 2021. We did a $2 million round in May of 2021. We haven't raised any money since then. We have basically from then on, we have bootstrapped the company by selling MDMA and reinvesting the money from that into novel products. So I think for the last 3 quarters, we've had more or less the same amount of money every single quarter, which is $500,000. We keep that buffer. Want to have some cash. But yeah, we just sort of rolled along with our sales being our primary driver of growth.
Okay, so I'm gonna talk about other numbers. Could you let us know your share structure? If you have options, warrants, and if by any chance you would let us know the percentage held by insiders, it would be great.
Yeah, I think so. We have a total of 86 million shares outstanding. We don't have a lot of warrants left. All of our warrants were either at 5 cents or 10 cents. We've been well above that for like over 6 months. I think we hit a high of 50 cents or 52 cents this year. We started off the year at 3 cents. So, and I think today we're between 25 and 30 cents, with a high this year of 50 cents. So it's been a really, really great year for the stock price. Mm-hmm. Insiders hold not a ton of the stock, and most of the team is compensated with stock options, including the board. So there's quite a few options outstanding, but they're all insider options. The warrants are all gone. We had like broker warrants, stuff like that. That's all been triggered mostly over the past 6 months because we've had such remarkable growth. And so yeah, we're always interested. We're always interested in new investors who will come in. But I definitely remember very well when I started the company. We started it in the pandemic, and everyone said to me, you know, you don't, why are you building an operating business? You don't need that. You just raise a bunch of money, and then you'll have this money, and then you can always raise more money. And instead, we built an operating business with like very little investment because we saw a great opportunity. And now everyone is saying, it's a terrible time to raise. You should, you're so brilliant for, don't raise. Just keep working on your operating business. And I actually think it's always the opposite. Like, if everyone is going in one direction, you should be going in the other. So when everyone said, like, raise money, don't build an operating business, we built an operating business. And today, I actually think that there's a lot of great, smart investors who are looking for good companies. And over the next 9 months will be the time when, the bad companies sort of fall down, because you can't keep, if you don't make money and you're a bad company, you can't survive. And it'll actually be a great time to get smart money, like good strategic investors into businesses like ours. So that is the goal for sure for us. And then as well, I just published a letter to shareholders on Monday, outlining our strategy for the next 6 months. The last time I published one was 6 months ago. We had 3 goals. We executed every single one of those goals. So now I published a new one. And one of our major goals is to start forming strategic relationships with pharma companies, because even when the markets are bad, and even when there's not a lot of investment coming from investors, pharmaceutical companies are investing in novel intellectual property because they need the products, they need pipeline. So that's what we're working on right now.
So for new potential investors, what would you say, or what, if you could describe the company's highlights and strength going into fall, what would they be?
Well, number one, we're the only publicly traded manufacturer of MDMA that's out there. So if you want to participate in sort of this rapidly growing space of MDMA, I think we're your guys. It's kind of just us. It is nice to have a monopoly for however long you could have it for. It is nice to have. So that, and then yeah, I think when you talk about developing analogs of MDMA, new molecules in this space, I think we're the best in the world at it. I really do. We have like an amazing amount of talent, and we've gotten very, very good at moving rapidly, developing new molecules quickly, moving through the clinical trial regulatory pathways very quickly. So I think those are our 2 strengths is like number one, at the heart of it, we deliver. What it was, Steve Jobs said, real artists ship. So we ship when we make contract, and we've had to, right? Because we've bootstrapped the company. We've had to make our deliveries. If a clinical trial says we need, 8 grams of MDMA encapsulated in our vault by the end of the month, and we say yes, we have to ship it. We have to make sure that we do it. So I think the execution has been a huge core strength of ours.
Okay. And because you talked about the fact that you're going to deliver your 6 months plan on Monday, right? So we're going to keep the secret till then. But could we at least know where you head at, where you want to lead the company at in the future?
Yeah. So we talked about the 2 sides of the business, right? Like the generic manufacturing side and then the novel molecule side. The past 6 months have been all about developing the generic manufacturing side, because I published that first shareholders letter in February. Australia had just announced that they were going to legalize MDMA assisted therapy. And so we had this amazing opportunity. We needed to execute on it. And that was the big, huge goal. And what we ended up doing was I think we executed beyond my wildest expectations. We formed a 50-50 joint venture with a company called Vitura Health in Australia. They are the largest medical cannabis integrated health company in Australia. They're publicly traded. They're incredibly good at what they do. They're hugely competent, and they're financing the expansion. We're putting in the IP into that market. So that's a great deal, right? Both partners are aligned. It's a 50-50 joint venture. It's called Cortexa. So that was the big goal from last time, and we executed on it. This time around, the big goal is more on the novel molecule side, and it is all about executing a development partnership with a pharma company. Because now we have really great IP. It's time to monetize it, basically.
And now, you know what? We're gonna be crazy now. Let's go 5 years later. So we're gonna be in what, 2028, right? Yeah. So where would you see the company at? Like, expectation,
look, I think in 5 years, the question is not, will there be more countries that allow for MDMA assisted therapy? The question will be, how many new countries? I think we've proven that when there's a regulatory change like there was in Australia, we will be the fastest to market. We will find the best possible distributors, and we'll execute on a plan that allows us to gain access to that market very, very quickly. In the Australian example, we found the best possible partner. There is nobody better than Vitura, for what we want to do, of course. And so I think so big sort of ambitious stuff for 5 years out. I think between 5 and 10 new countries are going to come online in the next 5 years. So between 1 and 2 new countries per year, although probably weighted more to the back end. I think the United States will approve MDMA assisted psychotherapy within the next 2 years. So the US will be a part of that. Big piece there, of course. And then on the novel molecule side, within 5 years, I want to have a phase 3 trial done for our lead molecule, ALA-02. I want to be done. I want to be in the market with a drug, which is realistic. I mean, we're sort of at phase 2 already. I think we can hit it.
Wow, that's a lot of great perspective for the future, right? And now, so would you have any last word for our viewers? If you want to say anything about the company, go ahead. It's now.
I've talked a lot already. No, look, I think we are definitely somewhat unique in this space. I do think that we've done a great job this year, and the stock price has sort of borne that out. We trade under the ticker symbol MDMA in Canada and under the ticker symbol PMBHF on OTC markets, OTCQB. So yeah, we've had a great year. Now it's all about just continuing to push forward and keep the growth going, basically.
Well, it was my last question. So thank you a lot, Nicolas, for being part of it. And I'm gonna be very looking forward to seeing your company grow.
Mark, thanks so much, man. It's so good to talk to you.
Thank you.